somewhat amused by the whole thing, because he would be one, and knowing firsthand, as his oldest child, that there was very little that he did to comment around his military service. You kind of had to drag those things out of him. It just wasn't something that came natural. He didn't talk about it, okay? And I think in terms of what was my family with Caroline, with Kate and Grace and Max, my sister Taryn, and my younger brother who's not able to join us, we all have a lot of fond memories in terms of what we refer to as artisans, right? But if I take all that down and kind of go back to what ultimately led, quite by accident, and I'll talk about that in a moment, his connection with CAP, it was just an endearing commitment to duty on our country. I mean, that was how he was wired. And I think if I go back to what, in our DNA, the things that he taught us as kids, it was to always respect, be mindful. You may not always agree, okay, but particularly in the military, when it became part and parcel for him to follow orders, even those that he may not have agreed with, he just instinctively did what was required of him. The part with CAP was really quite by accident. Max is going to talk a bit around what CAP provided him in terms of a trip to DC, where he was able to lobby, right, for this very award, which is pretty cool on it to itself. But it was after he got back from that DC trip that we were sitting in our bedroom one night, just he and I talking, and he says, "Dad, can I go take a look at Grandpa Hart's pictures?" And they're in a box. After he passed away, closed down the house, put him in this wooden box that's probably 100 years old. And I thought I knew everything that was in there. And he's going through this stuff, and all of a sudden produces the card that you've all seen now. And it was surprising, shocking, amazing to me, because as his oldest boy, there was never any connection that was made for him trying to lure me in. When we went further into all the archived stuff that was there, the connection with Boy Scouts, things that he didn't push us to. And I think for him, it wasn't the role of a parent to push a child or a kid into those things. It was to have the child kind of assume those roles. And I think the thing that got him into CAP was, in around that time, his older brother, by about just under 10 years, was a prisoner of war. He was a Spitfire pilot and shot down over Italy. And it is of no surprise that when you start to take a look at what today, I think those like yourself and those of you that volunteer time in anything that has to deal with public service, I commend you all, right? Because it's coming to the exclusion of things that are away from family, from business or sports, whatever you like to do. So it's always a tug on my heart what you guys do to commit yourselves to this thing. But I think he had that natural thing that he had to do, right? And that was to enlist in this program called CAP. Unfortunately, the archives don't have a whole lot of other information, right, in terms of all that went on in those programs. But I think it kind of lended itself to just an overall good DNA that he would look down on this and say, "I'm not deserving." He would defer it to somebody else. That's just how he was. But if I take a look at it, and you made the comment, he's not here, I assure you he is. It's a generational thing. And I wasn't going to embarrass my son, Max, who in a couple of years, based upon fulfillment of his ROTC commitment at DMI, will be commissioned second lieutenant in the Army. We joke, but he is Art. From the standpoint that even if I were to take his birth picture, right, yeah, where it's him and his first picture is him saluting. It's the goofiest thing. And oh, by the way, he was born June 14th on Flag Day. So there were all these things.
And the Army anniversary. That's the Army anniversary too.
Yeah, so I mean, there were so many connections that though Dad had passed away about 90 days before Max was born, and the two never met. There's always been this close bond that I think he's never been that far removed, at least from our family. In summary, I just want to thank everybody. All that you're doing, I think all that everybody did in terms of allowing awards like this to take place is really impressive. We're humbled, and appreciative. And Max, I'd love to have you spend a few minutes talking about your association with this whole medal process. And again, thanks for your time.
Thank you.